Hello and welcome to the March 2021 Get Seated Final Pitch event. Before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and thank our generous sponsors. We have Chad and Kristen Anselmo and DoxyMe. Thanks to these investors, we are able to go ahead and keep this fantastic program up and running. So as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and briefly explain the Get Seated program. Our fantastic entrepreneurs have gone ahead and prepared their presentations and can win up to $1,500. These presentations are going to go ahead and cover a few topics. The first is, who is their target audience and what have they done to come to that decision? The next thing they're going to cover is what the next milestone is for their business. This is the thing that they need to go ahead and complete before they can achieve their further growth. All of the presenters will get either 3 or 4 minutes to pitch, 4 minutes if they're a returning team, and which will allow them to go ahead and share how their previous funding was used. Once all of the presentations are completed, we'll go ahead and have a quick round of Q&A. These are questions you can send in throughout all of the different presentations. Once they're over, we will open voting and have a short Q&A with Greg Roseanne while we go ahead and look at the scores, and then we'll go ahead and announce our winners. So as we start to go ahead and get the presentations up and running, again, go ahead and make sure that you send your questions to the text line that is going to be on our next screen. One of the rules is that you need to go ahead and make sure that any of the texts and questions that you send in include the team number of the team. Abby, can we get to the next screen? Perfect. So as you can see, our first team is going to be Hops and Hounds. You can also see your text line at the bottom, which is 812-542-5299. If you have any questions for Hops and Hounds, feel free to text it to that number and then just include their team number 1. With that, please welcome Hops and Hounds.
Good evening, everyone. We are Hops and Hounds. My name is Holly Getz, and I have a 2-year-old dog named Daisy. I currently work at Goldman Sachs, so my days usually consist of long hours in the office. So during the day, Daisy goes to daycare. And after a long day, it can be hard to spend time with my friends because not only do doggy daycares have limited hours and stiff fees for late pickups, but there also aren't any indoor places I can go to spend time with my human friends and Daisy. The only place we can all be together is a park, but Utah's weather goes from really hot in the summers to very cold and snowy in the winter. And so this creates a problem for dog owners like me. So from these experiences, we realized that there's a need in the market to fix some of these problems. So we created Hops and Hounds. Hops and Hounds is Utah's first 21 and over indoor dog park, daycare, and bar. You can exercise your dog in a comfortable off-leash environment, socialize with other dog owners, and enjoy a cold drink at the same time. Our target customers are professionals who own dogs in the greater Salt Lake area. We've surveyed many of our coworkers and friends that fall into this demographic, and they've expressed similar frustrations, and we've received overwhelming support for the idea. We specifically want to focus on having more convenient hours of operation, creating a social space for both dogs and owners, and doing that at a competitive price that brings value to our customers. We've conducted research on the 18 doggy daycares in the Salt Lake area, which all have limited hours. And the other place that people go to hang out with their friends and dogs are outdoor parks, which are free, but unfortunately are subject to the weather. At Hops and Hounds, we hope to solve these problems by providing a year-round play area and social environment for dogs and humans to hang out, and we plan to have later hours of operation to accommodate our target market. And so here is where we need your help. From the localized feedback, there's a lot of demand and people want us to open this. And so our next step is to create a website to house information about the business. And we also want to solicit feedback from a broader audience to confirm that the pricing structure is correct and gauge the interest level for our services. In addition, we want to create some media content for social media to bring brand awareness and direct people back to our website. We would love to receive the $1,500. As you can see, we have several ways that we hope to use it. We are all fully behind this idea and ready to open. And this milestone will help us to ensure that our target market is ready for that as well. With all of that said, what questions do you guys have for us?
So the questions are actually going to be held until the very end of all of the presentations. So for the time being, we're going to go ahead and put that aside. Thank you so much, Hops and Hounds. That was absolutely fantastic. Our next team is going to be UV Drop. Again, the text line is at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to go ahead and send any questions you have for Hops and Hounds with the number 1 or for UV Drop with number 2. With that, go ahead and take it away, UV Drop.
My name is Christina Schiffman, and this is UV Drop. Yearly, there are more cases of skin cancer than all other cancers combined. Additionally, Utah has the highest rates of skin cancer in the nation. The problem is that current methods of preventing skin cancer are simply outdated and ineffective. Our solution is UV Drop, an ultraviolet detecting wearable sensor made in collaboration with University of Utah dermatologists. It measures UV light and notifies users when to get inside. Through our efforts to prove customer validation, we have found that our target market would be women aged 21 to 30 with a predisposition to skin cancer. Additionally, as you can see in the top graph, the willingness to pay for a product like this is quite high. One of the most shocking things we found while conducting interviews was the intense fear that interviewees exhibited while discussing the potential of developing skin cancer in the future. There are 3 current products that are similar to ours, but the most similar is the shade UV sensor. So what differentiates us? First, our iOS application, which we like to call user programmable. Due to the fact that when a user downloads the application, they are able to kind of direct the way that the device will work for them. They're asked to fill out a survey that will determine their Fitzpatrick skin type or their genetic predisposition to sun damage. They're asked what their hair color is, skin color, eye color, all things that determine how likely you are to burn in the sun. We're also working on integrating facial recognition to improve this process. Our circuit board, which collects UV data, is special for 2 reasons. First, it can be used in temperatures from negative 30 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius, literally any climate. Additionally, with just 1 battery, the device can be used for 10,000 consecutive hours. We do this by integrating Bluetooth Low Energy, which keeps power consumption low for both the smartphone and the device. The milestone that we hope to achieve next is improving our circuit board housing. As you can see, our housing that we currently have is just not working. The housing we hope to have would be modular, meaning that a variety of different pieces can attach to one device, so it can be used for a variety of activities. This is the next right milestone for us due to the fact that we have new circular circuit boards that are in their final iteration, and we can't use these fully until we have housing for them. Our funding request is $1,000. We have to use very high quality materials. When grappling with the fact that your device may be the reason that someone does or doesn't develop skin cancer, precision and accuracy have to be kept at the top of the list. We have to use UV transparent materials to ensure every dose of UV light is successfully transmitted to the sensor. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, UV Drop. That was very well done. Okie doke. Again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them to our text line with the number of the team below. That was UV Drop with number 2. And up next is Rumors with number 3. Go ahead and take it when you're ready, Rumors.
All right, can you hear me? Hi, so my name is James Giles and I'm with Rumors. Rumors is a marketplace for interior designers, and this idea came about because my wife and I were looking for a similar service and we're not able to find something that met our expectations or was something that we wanted to use. And we wanted to create something that was very simple and easy to use. A client can easily sign up for our website and then through a set of filters, be matched with a set of interior designers. And they can filter by location, styles, services, their budget, which is a really important feature, and also ratings. And these are just some screenshots from our website. And we wanted to create something that was very easy and convenient to use. And for our customer validation, our target customer are women and couples ages 25 to 55 with a household income of 50,000 plus. And we sent out a formal survey and got about 100 respondents. And we did get a good amount of feedback and support, with many people liking the concept and also finding it extremely different from other services that are available. And also a side note is, we did get a number of male respondents as well who said that they would not use the service, but they would be very supportive of their spouse using it, just because it would simplify the process for everybody. And our competitive analysis is, I just wanted to create a very simple and easy to use, to see matrix from affordable to expensive, and then also on a matrix of a set group of designers, such as a traditional design firm or a digital design firm, to really an unlimited number of potential designers, so you're able to find somebody that you'll connect with and feel very comfortable working with. And our milestone is we recently were able to launch our website, and the next steps would be branding and marketing to drive to start driving revenue through SEO, digital marketing, blog, just driving that website traffic. And we are asking for $1,500. Digital marketing is expensive. We're currently working on getting interior designers to currently sign up, from students wanting to pursue interior designers to independent contractors. And then once we get a number of designers to set up, we will then use the funds to create a digital marketing campaign to start driving traffic and create a fully functioning service. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rumors. That was wonderful. Again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and text our text line below with the number of the team. Just as a reminder, that was number 3, Rumors, and coming up next is number 4, MNTN, or Mountain Mobile. When you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So my name's Stratton Wagner. I am representing our team between me, Micah Jones, and Jorge Ovalle for our company, Mountain Mobile, which is part of the RV, ATV, and boat sharing industry. So the idea behind Mountain Mobile is that, it's kind of like Airbnb for vehicles. There are other companies that do similar things, but the idea is that if you own a vehicle, in this case, an RV, ATV, or boat, you are able to list your vehicle out to renters. Now, this solves 2 problems. It solves the problems for owners, and it solves the problem for renters. It turns out that RV, ATV, and boat owners only use their vehicles for an average of 10 to 15 days per year. Now, we've all driven down the road and seen people's RVs and ATVs and boats just sitting in their driveways. So this enables them to list out their RVs, those vehicles, and list them out and rent them out, and make up to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year while it's just sitting in their driveway. It also solves the problem for renters, because it turns out that financing these vehicles is expensive and it's inconvenient, and they're able to rent these vehicles from owners rather than actually having to purchase them. Customer validation. So we've done extensive research. We've talked to lots of people. It turns out that people's biggest concern is, what if people don't take care of my vehicle, right? So that's why we are currently in negotiations with Liberty Mutual, 24/7 roadside assistance. And we're creating almost done with our website, which is the screenshot here, to create the best experience for these vehicle owners and renters to be able to list out their vehicles and rent them. Competitive analysis, we have 3 big competitors, those being Outdoorsy, RV Share, Get My Boat. Each of those, Outdoorsy and RV Share, only list out RVs. Get My Boat does boats, obviously. So what differentiates us from them is that we will be offering RVs, ATVs, and boats. There's around 10 million RV owners in the US. There's around 9 million ATV owners in the US. and there's around 12 million registered boats in the US. So adding the ATVs and boats expands our market by 210%. And so it allows us to really reach far more people, which those kinds of those owners don't have the kind of services that we are offering right now. Oh, sorry. Oh. Shoot. Okay, thank you. So our next milestone is app development. We're currently in negotiations with Bluestone Apps to create our apps. That's a screenshot of what our app will look like. So once we get our app developed, we'll be able to launch and get into marketing, the SEO, and all that kind of stuff. Our funding request, $1,500. This will allow us to put the down payment for the app development. It will also allow us to do needed marketing, SEO, and stuff like that, as well as maintain and add software additions such as AWS.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Mountain Mobile. You ran out of time, but thank you so much for sharing with us. That was great. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to our text line. That was Mountain Mobile with 4. And coming up next is Project Manna with 5. Okay, take it away, Project Manta. Manta.
All right, my name is Sako, and this is my startup, Project Manta. 9.9 trillion is the estimated annual global economic value that our corals provide. Over 500 million people rely on the reef's ecosystem as a primary source of food and income. Despite only covering 0.0025% of the oceanic floor, reefs generate over half of Earth's oxygen. As you can see, coral reefs are essential for our planet. Despite this, global warming and other factors threaten their existence. Losing over half our ocean's coral reefs in the last 30 years, vast intervention is needed. That is why Project Manta exists. I plan to create a digitally native benefit corp with the necessary mission restoring dying coral reefs by planting Helios or bred coral on tree-like structures, funded through the sale of high-quality plant-based ULEX wetsuits through one suit sold, one trees built model. Our target customers are scuba divers, free divers, and spearfishers. These athletes are not only vastly underrepresented in the wetsuit market, but are customers who see the damage and death of our coral reefs face firsthand. After interviewing several oceanographers, this notion is further solidified. As the need to purchase wetsuits for the profession, they'd much rather purchase a wetsuit that's an 80% smaller carbon footprint than industry standard, as well as a suit which proceeds go towards a goal that is environmentally advantageous to their own, to sustain a healthy ocean. Here we have 2 companies and 1 nonprofit, which are similarities to what I plan to achieve with Project Manta. First, we have Patagonia, who succeeded in selling ULEX-based wetsuits over the last 2 years. However, these wetsuits are designated for surfing and they're not tapping into the scuba, spear, or freediving markets. Next, we have Need Essentials, who sells quality wetsuits at a low price due to being one of the only digitally native wetsuit sellers, negating the need for retail markups. However, they also specialize in surfing and do not offer a plant-based neoprene alternative. Finally, we have the Coral Reef Restoration Foundation, who's rebuilding destroyed coral reefs with the same method I plan to use. However, being a nonprofit hinders their ability for growth and to create a large-scale impact. The next step I'm asking you to help me achieve is the creation of prototypes. With partnerships with the ULEX and Shinko Group, I want to bring my designs for our first scuba-centric wetsuit to life. With these suits, I'll be able to test, photograph, and film these suits in the field with former coworkers and connections I've established in the scuba diving world. Once feedback and media are created, I can use this information to launch a Kickstarter campaign or for further crowdfunding, as well as presenting a product for my website, www.projectmanta.com. I'm asking for funding of 6 trial wetsuits, 4 male and 2 female. Although negotiations are still going on with our partners at Shinko Group, based on background research, other companies pay around $210 to $270 per suit for production costs for suits similar to the one I'm producing. These suits will be field tested by designated athletes, giving valuable feedback for modifications for when our first product is launched. And that's our presentation.
Thank you very much, Project Manta. That was great. Again, go ahead and send any questions to our text line. That was Project Manta at number 5, and number 6 is UAir. UAir, when you're ready, feel free to start.
Great, thank you.
I'm Alex Hume.
And I'm Taryn Holman, and we are the U-Air Mini. 40 million people in the US currently have asthma or COPD, and the prevalence has been growing at a rate of greater than 40% per year since 2000. Currently, asthma is the third leading cause of medical death in the United States. The primary treatment for asthma, COPD, and viral lung infections is the albuterol inhaler. To put it simply, albuterol opens up your airways when they're constricting and you can't breathe. The primary thing about asthma is that you never know when an attack is going to strike or where it is going to strike, and you have to have your inhaler at all times. Therefore, current albuterol inhalers have been largely unchanged since the 1950s, and we can see one displayed in the top left-hand picture. Patients are now complaining that these inhalers are bulky, not portable, making it inaccessible when they need it most. Enter the U-Air Mini. Enter the U-Air Mini, which is a smaller 20-puff inhaler that comes in 2, 5, or 10 packs. The U-Air Mini's multi-pack option, sleek linear design, and keychain option allows them to be dispersed throughout your life. In your purse, on your keys, in your backpack are all shown. This allows them to make sure that they have their inhaler when they need it, whenever and wherever an attack could occur. So do patients even want it? We surveyed 400 asthmatics, and 55% of them said that they would purchase a U-Air Mini. We also wanted to know, would providers and physicians prescribe this to their patients? We interviewed Dr. Samuelson, who's a critical care pulmonologist at the University of Utah, and he said that there's a huge need. We also talked to Dr. Smith, who's a pediatrician at the University of Utah, and she said she would prescribe this to every one of her patients. Lastly, we have validated our team and business being top 20 at the Utah Entrepreneur Challenge this year. We are also in discussions with Teva Pharmaceuticals and have talked to Dr. Brad Bath, who's the Director of Regulatory Affairs, and they said they'd definitely be interested in acquiring the U-Air Mini.
So the next thing we did was a competitive analysis of the inhaler market. We determined that the average price to the consumer is about $52. And with 70 million inhalers being sold in the United States annually, that's a $3.7 billion market in the United States alone. Globally, it's closer to a $33 billion market. Now, there's about a dozen different competitors that compete in this space, and yet there's no market leader, leaving room for a new entrant such as U-Air. They're also seeking patents for technology-connected inhalers such as Bluetooth, whereas the U-Air Mini is addressing the accessibility, the portability, and the providing the improved medicine delivery that patients really want in the real world. So we were at Get Seated back in October, and based on that last round of funding, we were able to conduct a baseline freedom to operate search, which was a search of other potentially competing intellectual property. And we did determine that the U-Air Mini has a clear path to intellectual property protection. We also engineered and prototyped our device for testing. And then furthermore, we've been in talks with Presspart Manufacturing, the world's largest manufacturer of canisters, on a custom canister for the U-Air Mini. The milestones we're looking for today would be the computational modeling of airflow, and then also various testing are required for the FDA pathway. The FDA pathway we're seeking is a 510K, which is the best pathway through the FDA in terms of time, as well as cost effectiveness. So we are looking for $1,100 today to complete the FDA 510K application testing. We're going to need.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe that's time. Okay, well, thank you so much, U-Air, for going ahead and sharing with us today. Again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and text the number 812-542-5299 with the team that you have a question for.
Okay, we are going to do our question and answer. Give me just 1 second. So if everyone can jump back on, we are gonna ask 2 questions per team, and then we're gonna go in the same order. So Hops and Hounds, you're gonna be first. Give me just 1 second. To pull up the questions. Okay, Hops and Hounds, are you guys ready to go? Okay. Will you charge a cover charge or a subscription fee, and what will that be?
Yeah, so
Can you guys hear me?
yeah, Josue, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. So we're still finalizing on the pricing structure, but to answer the first question, we are planning on having a membership and also allow people to pay on a single use basis. But as far as the pricing, that's part of why we were looking to do the survey right now to make sure what is that price where people have value or where people find value. And they're willing to pay for our services.
Okay, thank you. And then will you have breed restrictions, and how are you going to manage that and just the safety of the dogs at the park?
Yeah, so breed restrictions are highly dependent on where, like the insurer of the business. So different daycares, different services run through different insurance providers, and they are the ones that limit which breeds and which kind of dogs can come. Most of that you can get over with, testing dogs and making sure that they're well socialized. But that's a bridge that we'll cross once we have chosen our insurer of choice, because we'll ultimately have to follow their guidelines.
Okay, thank you so much. Up next, we're going to have 2 questions for UV Drop. Okay, so how do you know when to get out of the sun? What is the research based on?
So there is so much research actually, on a variety of skin types that tells you there's certain levels, and say for 1 UV index, that's about 200 millijoules of exposure. And so what we do is we mathematically accumulate exposure. So there's 2 parts kind of to this question. First off, like I mentioned in the application, you fill out a questionnaire. It's going to determine basically based on your genetics, how long you can spend in the sun. And then the physical device accumulates the UV exposure that it receives outdoors, and it will notify you when you've reached your certain limit or trip level.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So what is the timeline to complete your prototyping? And with that, are you filing a patent?
Yes, that's a great question. So we have started the patent process. I have spoken with people at the Pivot Center at the University of Utah. Like I mentioned, I'm working with dermatologists, so there's a whole lot of logistics to figure out in terms of patenting and who gets rights. But we are working on that. What was the second part of the question?
Prototyping. Where are you at in the prototyping process?
Okay, where we are. So with our circuit boards, we believe that we're in our final iteration. As I mentioned, we are creating circular circuit boards. They're currently being manufactured in China and will be here by April. As far as housing, as far as the development of the device, I would say that we are close to bench testing, and we will be testing this final kind of step of iteration by the summer.
Thank you. Okay, up next is rumors. Okay, let me see. So what is your differentiation between your competitors like House?
Yeah, so our main differentiation is just mainly focusing on interior designers, as well as through research, houses specifically is kind of going through a transition, and they're bleeding users currently just due to a lot of customers being dissatisfied with not being able to return furniture that they purchased. So they're currently losing clients. And so we plan to kind of capitalize on that.
Thank you. How do you plan on networking with designers to bring them to the site?
So first off, there's two avenues. We right now just reaching out to friends and family that we personally know, social media, as well as we're going to be reaching out to the different interior design. So Ensign College has one, I believe UVU has another interior design program. So to get students and graduates on board as well, who are looking for a way to gain clients and a platform to use. And then also through Facebook groups.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Up next is Mountain Mobile. Okay, does renting vehicles out void any warranties that they might have?
Not warranties. So it's required that vehicle owners actually have insurance, right? So you're required to have like private RV insurance and ATV insurance. Private ATV and RV insurance doesn't cover your vehicle when you actually rent it out, which is why we're going to offer supplemental insurance, which will cover up to $1 million in liability, $1 million in damages. It will cover both the renter and the owner. That way, it will be better insurance than they have on their vehicles. So, yeah.
Okay. What would stop other existing companies from just adding the additional service like ATV and boat?
So it's not as easy as just adding it onto your website. Otherwise, everyone would have done it. It turns out that, I mean, figuring out the insurance, right? That's been the beast of this company, is trying to figure out how can we get a decent insurance plan to cover all these vehicles. I don't know how many of you have dealt with insurance agents and insurance companies, but it's quite the adventure. And so we've finally figured it out. We've finally nailed it down. And so what's stopping them? I mean, I'm not them, I guess nothing, but we're hoping to be competitive enough when we believe we are, because we will be offering more of a share to the vehicle owners as they, are able to rent them out. We'll also be offering better features, I believe, better website, better app, more convenient processes. And so I guess nothing, but we believe we'll do it better.
Thank you, Mountain Mobile. Up next, we have Project Manta. Okay, first question, what is the plant used and how sustainable is it used to make the material?
One second, I'm not seeing Project Manta in the group anymore. Okay, there we go.
Right here, sorry, my internet was disconnected. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'll repeat the question. So what is the plant used to make the material and how sustainable is it?
So the plant used to make the neoprene replacement is Ulex. Ulex is in the same sort of family as bamboo. It is planted and grown in Thailand. It is proven to be with formation of Ulex neoprene replacement parcels to have, which are parcels are the material itself that the wetsuits are made out of, to have an 82% less carbon footprint than the industry standard neoprene flakes that are made out of propel and oil.
Thank you. Okay. How do you decide where to plant these coral trees, and can buyers dive to their tree?
I am planning on choosing where to plant these trees based on local law first and foremost, because you can't just go in and plant a coral tree anywhere, because coral reefs are, in most cases, especially in the U.S., protected lands. So I'll have to work with local law and make sure that wherever I can plant and whatever dying coral reefs I'm targeting, I can actually get permission to go and work on. And second off, to dive towards those reefs would be a really cool add-on to it. But right now I don't see Project Manta offering any chartering services. Chartering meaning going out and giving tours or whatever, but it definitely adding on to what coral trees that is being planted. There definitely could be added on like a geotag on the tree so people can track where it went.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And lastly, we have you, Air. 2 questions for you. Do you have an IP or provisional patent submitted?
We do, yes. So we have all of our components currently are under a provisional patent, and we're working with patent attorneys on filing for the non-provisional patent towards the end of this year.
We're currently working on optimization of our actuator of the canister because we have a utility patent on a laminar flow of the device as well as a design patent on the actuation. And so we are working on optimizing it and finalizing that patent.
Perfect, thank you. Why don't big pharma companies who make inhalers just make one like this?
Yeah, so great question. Like I said, in all of our research, there are provisional patents and stuff on Bluetooth connected devices, essentially kind of tying together like a tile and a albuterol inhaler. And so their focus is just different. We are running into, we're actually finding that there's a really great advantage for us because the intellectual property opportunity is there. And so as we get closer and closer to having more components of our device patentable, we're kind of build ourselves a patent wall, so to speak, with several patents that will actually protect us from going after or being targeted by any of these pharma companies, except for partnership or for sale.
And like we said earlier, I think that the inhaler has been largely unchanged since the 1950s because patients have to buy it. It's not something that as a patient you could decide to not have your albuterol inhaler with you. And so if it's largely unchanged, there's just no other options on the market for patients to choose something different. So pharma keeps making the same one.
Thank you so much to all of our teams who answered our questions, and I will turn it back over to Virginia.
Thank you very much, Abby. Okay, so now's the time we've all been waiting for. It is time to go ahead and open voting. As a note, right now it is 6:08. Voting will be open for approximately 10 minutes. So go ahead and get all of your votes in before, I guess, 6:18. Please go ahead and follow the link that's on your screen. It's bit.ly /2021 March Get Seated Voting. From there, you should go ahead and be able to vote for your top 3 teams. One of the important notes is you do need to go ahead and put in the order of the teams that you're voting for. Otherwise, things can get a little bit funky, but otherwise, you're good to go.
And just a quick note on the Q&A with Greg Roseanne, we're going to give Greg a few minutes to vote. And then once you're ready, Greg, just let me know and we'll dive in. Kaylee or Abby, can you go ahead and unmute Greg? His vote has been cast and we're ready to take it away.
Absolutely. Give me just 1 second. I apologize for that. I was voting and not paying attention.
There we go. Welcome, Greg Roseanne, to our new impromptu interview sessions with the Get Seated program, born out of the constraints of the Zoom life. So, so I would love to just start. So, Greg, you're an alum, you're an entrepreneur, and you really got your start here in Utah and have some roots here as a student at the U. Will you share a little bit about your story, your origin story here, and then what brings you to what you're working on today?
Sure, happy to. Thank you for the opportunity to do this, and also many congrats to everybody who's presented today. I love every one of your ideas are passionate. They come across passionately, and I think there's some really great opportunities here. So my story kind of comes out of a whole series of events. I've been out here in Utah for 20 some odd years. I came out here for work. I've been a software guy a majority of my career. Started out as a probably mediocre at best software developer. But got pretty good at helping customers to figure out what types of things they needed, and then starting to build software to help improve business processes, and in particular, things that are centered around the public sector. So I spent a lot of my career working and doing projects for state, local, federal governments. I actually came out here to Utah 20 some odd years ago to do a project which in a little tiny way these days probably impacts most people here if you have a car, because if you've ever been to the DMV anywhere in the state of Utah and hopefully have had a pretty good experience with getting your car registered or getting plates for your car, that was my baby. That was a system that I led that project and ran that up until that project originally went live back in 2003 or so. So it's been replaced and upgrades over years, but I've done a lot with it. I did a lot with it leading up to that point. After that, I went to work for a retail software company. And while I went to work with a number of friends of mine, and that was really fun to do, the notion of developing retail software just wasn't really working for me. It wasn't scratching my itch. It was technically really interesting. Retail is incredibly complex. So it was technically interesting, but it just didn't really seem to be working for me. At the same time, while I was doing that, I was the head of software engineering for that company, and decided that wasn't enough for me to do. So I also went back to the U for my master's degree. And I was part of the Master of Science and Technology program, which is now called the PMST program. It's out of the graduate school. And I had a chance to get involved with something in that program, which at the time was just barely getting off the ground itself. And that was the Lausanne New Venture Development Program. I was in the inaugural class of that. And I had already been out in the working world for about 16 years when I decided to go back to college and get my graduate degree. So to get connected with people like Troy D'Ambrosio, who was actually one of my advisors, and a number of other people, and go through the Lausanne process, really kind of sparked my interest and kind of opened up this whole idea of entrepreneurship. And I hadn't really thought much about entrepreneurship before that, but it really kind of sparked my interest. So when you combine, I wasn't super happy in my job and I had interest in entrepreneurship, I decided what anybody would do who was married and had a 6-month-old baby at home. I quit my job and I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. By the way, this is with my wife's permission and encouragement. But I walked away from my job and I said, let's see what finds me. And from there, I was introduced to a couple of people here in Salt Lake Valley who had an idea. And their idea was around how do we implement and use online learning. This was in 2007 when online courses were just barely starting to come to the forefront. And they said, we have this idea where there are 20 to 30 million people in the United States who never graduated from high school. Those people are typically at a severe socioeconomic disadvantage in our society. And what if we could get them a high school diploma and get them on their way and get them to a better place? And so they had an idea. They kind of pitched it to me and said, what do you think about getting something like this off the ground? And I said, me by myself? And they said, well, yeah, you'll figure it out. And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So it was a bit of an unusual way to launch a business, but I did have a little startup capital, had a few connections and had an idea. And about 6 weeks of fumbling around, having never started a company, as well as having never done anything in the education space, I got partnered up with my co-founder, Rebecca Richards, who had built online schools before. So she knew what worked and what didn't. I knew how to build things. We got together and built things. 14 years later, we're still doing it. And we have partnered with over 300 school districts, community colleges, universities around the country. We have served probably coming up on 75, 80,000 students over our career. We have graduated, just last year, we graduated over 3,000 students from our programs, and we continue to grow by leaps and bounds. The company was acquired by one of the largest private equity firms in the world last year, just this time last year, which, as you could imagine, as we were headed into everything else in the world, it's been quite a ride for me for the last 12 months or so. But that's probably a long version of my origin story, but that's how I'm here.
No, I like it. And you even filled in some of the details for me, Greg. So I appreciate that. So, you know, as you can imagine, I've gotten to know Greg over the years, and it was one of my early phone calls when we all went home and virtual is, what does Greg think about what's happening right now? And can I get, you know, can I channel some encouragement of this good work? I have to say congratulations on your success. Student entrepreneurs, congratulations on the beginning of your projects. And some of you have seen for a couple of years here. One thing I liked I reread your little article, I'd share this with the other student entrepreneurs here, that, you know, your success rate, you used to ring a bell every time you'd graduate a student, which I just love that. And that it might just be a little too disruptive if you're graduating 3,000 students in a year, but that's a lot to celebrate. You know, I'd love to hear from you about this. You know, we get this social entrepreneurship buzzword, and I worry about that being a disservice to the actual practice of social entrepreneurship. Can you share what you think social entrepreneurship is, and how you, maybe some insights that you'd like us to take away? I've got you muted still. Is that you or me? Can you unmute yourself? Oh.
Oh, wait, there we go.
Oh, it worked. Thank goodness.
Now I can. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so everybody can get behind social entrepreneurship, right? You know, let's do good and let's do well along the way. I think it can sometimes be an overused term. But for those who want to pursue projects that are in the social entrepreneurship realm, I think you have to give very serious thought and consideration to the road that you're going to go down. And I don't say that to be negative in any way. It's just trying to be realistic. Balancing those two things, doing well because in an entrepreneurship sense, and especially if you take on investment, you owe those investors a return on their investment. Even if they're investing in you because of a social cause, they're making an investment. It's not a donation, it's not a grant, it's an investment. They expect a return on that investment. At the same time, you want to do good in the world, and you want to try to accomplish things and try to make the world a better place. Is the product and the thing that you're trying to build a thing that genuinely helps the world be a better place? Or is it a thing that somebody else would use to help the world to be a better place? And that's perfectly okay if it's the latter. But I would also question whether or not that's a social entrepreneurship pursuit. And the reason I say that is not to dissuade you from social entrepreneurship. The reason I say that is because the investor that you pick or investors that you pick in your mission, in the vision of what it is that you're trying to deliver, is absolutely critical. Because if you get an investor whose investment thesis is all around, well, what you're building is software, and so we're going to do software as a service, and how do we get it into a scalable in the cloud, and then we're going to sell it per user, sell, it's going to scale, hockey stick, sell it, everybody makes a lot of money. Well, where was the social entrepreneurship part of that? At the same time, as an entrepreneur, you're going, I need capital. I'm not going to say no to an early investor, but you should question the types of early investors that you take on. And I took on some early investors who were fantastic investors, and they loved the social good, the idea of social good that we had, but their timeframes were too short. They needed a return, right? Their investment was in a fund, and that fund was getting towards the end, and they needed a return, and we couldn't deliver that return because we had to play a much longer game than people were prepared for. So my advice is, if you really going to call it social entrepreneurship, make sure that you're doing social good, and make sure that you're finding partners who are absolutely committed to social good, as well as doing good financially.
And to be clear, does that mean making sure those investors, like, that's part of their thesis, and that they have realistic time frames for your particular product, right? I mean, I think it's the 14-year overnight success is not really, on part of the standard for everybody's portfolio.
That's right. And we certainly have early investors who long ago had said, I can't put any more in the company. I still love everything that you do. I really hope that you're successful, but I can't put any more in. And we got them a fantastic return on their investment when we finally sold. But it was really funny to call them and be like, hey, guess what? We sold, and here's a 10 or 12x return on your money. And they were like, what? I forgot about you guys. So and that, hey, look, good problem to have, but people will always encourage you to be selective. If somebody puts a term sheet in front of you, it doesn't mean you have to take it. Be proud of your innovation, be proud of what it is that you're pitching, and allow yourself to entertain investment from different avenues so that you can try to find people, to your point, Ann, with the right investment thesis, and really making sure that they understand it. I probably pitched, 20 of the biggest VCs out there during my Series C. And I ran up and down Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley, and I had more than one VC take me aside outside of a meeting and go, this doesn't fit my portfolio, but I'd like to write you a check myself. Would you accept that? And it was like, at the time, no, we don't want individual investors. So they got it, but they were also mature enough to say, yeah, that doesn't line up with our investment thesis. Not all VCs are going to be that savvy about it, especially if they love your premise and your mission, but just really vet them and make sure they're going to be behind you when the times get a little sticky.
And so if I can just interject a nugget, student entrepreneurs, there's opportunities where folks might be really excited about your product and do something like that, want to make an early investment. And that's what our whole group is about, is really protecting the student entrepreneur's best interest and having a long distance view for the health and well-being of you and your venture. And I think that what you can know is if somebody, like you said, if somebody drops a term sheet, you can take that to our team and to a legal team and understand and then learn from that. What does this mean? It doesn't mean if somebody gives you a check that you have to cash it, right? So just think about that. That's validation that there's some interest, but what we don't want is we don't want you to be taken advantage of, or to we're hoping that you learn from some of the lessons that others have learned in the past. So Greg, I have to ask, so this year coming up is the 20th anniversary of Pierre Lasson's first gift to start the Lasson New Venture Development Program. So we like to hear a little bit of what was the vibe back in the day? Tell us what it was like. I'm assuming that Troy was your advisor, and just what was that like?
Well, look, I mean, Troy as well, if not better than I do. He the consummate professional. At the same time, you knew he was paddling madly underneath the water, trying to get this thing up and off the ground. And I admired his energy and his ideas. He directed us towards. There was a project that we did that was, it ended up not going anywhere, but it was so infectious. There was so much energy and enthusiasm around the whole program, and the fact that here were a bunch of people from many different disciplines, many different degree programs around the university. And that was the thing that attracted me the most too, is it's like, I've got some, I have a physics major, and me who's been out in the business world, and, other people who are in computer science, and somebody who was in the School of Education or something like that. Like, there was all these different people that were coming from all over the university and coming together and trying to figure out how to solve problems. And I thought that was a terrific incubator for all this. To see it now, of course, is amazing. And to see all the different programs that have blossomed from some of those early ideas. But it felt like a startup. It really did.
Still does most days. So with that, I'd like to ask you just one final question, and then we'll announce the awards and be done for the evening. And my final question is, at this moment, right, with all that we've learned, going virtual, really poignant moment, I think, for innovation as we're starting to see some uplift. We've seen a ton of disruption. What's your advice to these student entrepreneurs that are on the line with us now, and even us educators that are rethinking, how do we build this community of education and progress moving forward? What do you want us to take away tonight?
Yeah, well, I think as I opened with for every one of the teams, I mean, your passion, the ideas are terrific. You're all in different stages. But your passion is what's going to attract investment initially. Tell a story, and tell that story from your own personal perspective. Investors want to know, why is it that you are starting this? What is it and a few of you addressed this and said, here was something that I found was a challenge, and here's why I think I can solve that problem. In the early days of investment, when you're first trying to get investors to come into your business and to invest, they're investing in you. They're investing in your idea to a certain amount, but they're investing in you a lot more than they're investing in your idea. Over time, the idea has to win out, but in the very early stages, they're investing in you. So keep up that great energy, keep up the passion for what it is that you're doing, and tell your story.
Thank you. This is my wholehearted thank you to Greg, Roseanne. I'd also like to give a huge congratulations and thank you to the student leadership team who's come together to make this program happen all year. Yet another great month of programming. Congratulations. Huge warm thank you to Chad and Kristen Anselmo for making it possible this year and moving forward. The Anselmo's generosity to keep us going has been able to keep us with a big impact all year. And congratulations, student entrepreneurs. One thing I love to say is, you know, as Troy would say it, your first project was a flop, but you learned so much, you know, and I think you're a product of that experience. And we've seen so much success from students that have been in your seat. So great job tonight showing up. So I'll let the students take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Greg, for showing up. That was really fantastic. Okay, so moving on. First thing that I wanted to go ahead and tell you is keep an eye out on the Lassonde website for Get Seated for our upcoming events. And now, sorry, again, thank you to Chad and Kristen Anselmo and Doxy Me. You guys, again, are the reason that we can make this fantastic program happen. And then for the March 2021 results, in the order in which they presented, our winners are going to be Hops and Hounds, Project Manta, and U-Air. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you to all of our entrepreneurs. Your presentations today were all fantastic, and we're so glad that you all came out for this.
And if everyone would just stay on the line for just a minute, we're gonna take pictures. So if you can turn on your cameras, we want to take a picture of everybody.